So, hello world. Today I'm practicing for an interview at an engineering consulting firm to work in the infrastructure department, essentially starting off as a candidate for the profession of engineering. So, I'm going to start off in an entry level role where essentially you basically just learn how to be an engineer. So, going through undergrad and masters, you basically get a license in order to be able to learn about what engineering is all about. So, there's going to be a lot of problem solving because that's what engineering is. And I kind of developed for myself a mentality to have when I'm problem solving things at work in order to not get a little bit stressed by, the fact that there's not necessarily an answer like there was at school. So, because whenever you're solving a problem, you need, especially when it's not an obvious one and you're kind of starting from scratch, you need to have a code in your brain or a problem solving mechanism with certain characteristics. And that's what's actually going to ensure that you can solve your problems carefully with consideration of the fact that you're going to make mistakes. So, the attributes that my mental code has is, first of all, forget perfectionism. Perfectionism is the enemy of the good. And especially when you're working in engineering, it's not the same thing as when you're in grad school because you don't have all the time in the world to do the formatting and to be as accurate as possible. In the industry, they care more about the bottom line, and there's many constraints on the projects, such as time and money, manpower, and resources. And these make it so that it's impossible to have a perfect solution. Therefore, you must let go of the perfectionism that school has basically fostered in you. So that's good. Then you always have to remember that there's actually multiple solutions. So there's not going to be a solution that the teacher knows to the problem. You're going to have multiple solutions. And therefore, it's important that you're actually able to basically draw out a map of the scenarios that you're going to consider of all the solutions. Because essentially, if you have a client, you're not necessarily just going to offer them one solution. You're going to offer them many alternatives, and then you're going to work with them to figure out what is the best solution for them, considering the constraints of the project. Always. Constraints. And then, first of all, the question is, or not first of all, because I've already gone over like 3 points, but essentially the question is really, how the hell do you start solving a problem? You have all this information in front of you. You have your Excel documents. You have your tools. You have your models. You have your theories. So you have a toolbox as an engineer. But how do you start off? Basically, the idea is at some point you do have to just jump in. So you can't let yourself you can spend a certain amount of time in theory zone, which means developing the solution prior to actually implementing it. However, there has to be a moment where you just get fed up and it's taking too much time. You're getting towards perfectionism and possibly overthinking, and you have to be able to recognize these things in yourself. So when you feel yourself in that moment, that's when you're going to jump in and you're going to start the thing. So you're just going to start doing it and trial and error. In fact, whenever you're faced with complex, and I'm talking high level problems that need to be solved, complex shit, there's no choice at some point to do trial and error because the fact is you just don't know the answer. And you're not going to know the answer until you've actually tried something and then troubleshooted the solution. So you really just need to try something, jump in, and go the trial and error method with the idea in mind that you're going to do continuous improvements as you're solving the problem. So that means that, you're going to try something, you're going to see how well it works. You might be developing a type of method or like an Excel document where you're going to develop a database, and you need the thing to be functional. So it's a continuous, it's iteration. So engineering problem solving is literally all about iteration, and just keep in mind that you're always going to continuously improve. So you just have to have in your mind that you're going to grow and develop, and it's okay to make mistakes. So basically that's another aspect, is that you have to be willing to make mistakes, because if you're too scared of making a mistake, you're never going to go anywhere. So let go of that fear of failure, honey. Okay? And then obviously you have the actual hard. So these are kind of, I guess, all soft skills, because it's like at the end of the day, in order to have the faith and confidence in yourself that you can solve problems when there's money on the line and impatient clients and all this stuff, you have to have a certain faith and confidence in yourself, right? So these are all soft skills that allow you to have the right attitude in order to deliver proper services, okay? And therefore, but then you also have like a hard skill type of method. So those are the actual actions. So right now I was talking about all of the kind of like, mental guru stuff, soft skill, emotions, thought structure, all your kind of like inner circuitry. But you can't necessarily get too lost in that, although it's important. Emotional intelligence and emotional management is important, and you can't get lost in it. So it's important. However, you can't just focus on that. You also have to focus on the hard. So that's what's outside of you. So that means, all of your tools. So your textbooks that have theory in them. You have collecting the required information. So your ability to actually use research algorithms and search engines, and your ability to basically use your computer and use it to your advantage. So basically you just don't want to find yourself in a type of thought loop where it's like you're trying to solve a problem and then you find, so basically log your thought process as you're solving the problem, because what might actually happen is that you end up in a loop. So it's like you go down one route within the code of your brain, and you end up like you realize like you don't actually end up advancing in your solution, because maybe it's like there's a point where you've reached your capacity, so you can't go any further with the information you've actually collected. And at that point, you actually probably need to call someone or ask a superior. However, it's always important to basically take that moment to pause and try and find the solution for yourself for a while. So basically, I don't know, like tell yourself, I'm going to spend 30 minutes trying to figure it out myself, and don't get stressed. Like just try and solve the thing. And then once you've kind of exhausted your circuitry, your problem solving circuitry for that specific thing, then at least you have something to show, like, this is how I'm thinking. How do I get out of this loop? What is the missing key to get me out of the loop? So that's important. So these are all kind of like the hard skills, is like writing things down on paper if you have to, if you can't just like think through the computer, or drawing diagrams, all of these types of things. It's a lot of stuff. And how to figure out what is the right question to ask, everything. And always stay organized. So basically stay organized in your problem solving method. Like, don't let yourself get overwhelmed or confused. Like, don't let yourself get confused. That's why you need to have a solid like mapping out of the thing, of your thought process, as you're, in case you get stuck, so that you know exactly like, this is where I'm stuck, basically. So be organized in your hard skill methods, right? So be organized in your hard skills, like the actual actions that you're taking to solve the problem. And then finally, most importantly, I would say this is one of the most important things that you basically need in order to do engineering is have patience. Just have some fucking patience, bro. Like patience with yourself, patience with the project, patience with the people that you're working with. Holy shoot. This is going to require some serious like patience, you know? I understand why meditation is a thing. Okay, and communication. Baby. Communication is a big one. Communication is like a huge buzzword. And obviously it's necessary because engineering is all about working as a team to solve society's problems. There you go, honey. So the goal in engineering is to solve problems for society as a team. In order to do so, you need to communicate properly. So there you have it, guys. That's my, basically, it's like a framework. It's a mental framework that will allow you to be successful in engineering. And that's what I've developed. So that's kind of my mindset right now. I would say that's like the mind structure that I'm trying to build. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Ta-ta for now.